flight. And it is about recommitting daily to start again and again. So I'll be right back after this. Okay, so I'm back. You know what? I was sitting here trying to do that thing that you do when you share your video and all that out. And I thought that that 59 seconds was going to do it for me. And apparently it didn't, because I'm still sitting here trying to share this into the community that I'm trying to share it into. This is the Vlogmas, my Vlogmas number 9. And it's actually my first Vlogmas. So I'm kind of starting midway through. I'm going to circle back around in order to uh, fill in the rest. So I'm going to backfill my Vlogmas. But I was sitting here thinking, I was like, you know what? Uh, I don't really care who you are, where you're at in your professional journey, but it can be very challenging to start again, even when you are still moving. And I think that the challenge and the plus to being in this community is the constant push to continue moving forward on on your goals. Okay, I'll give you a quick heads up and a backgrounder as I go to find the community that I'm looking for. There we go. Okay, so I'm sharing it now to the Let's Get Live VIP community. Hey, y'all. Okay, so some of of course, those of you who are my friends and I have been kind of following what it is that I've got going on, you know that I've got quite a few projects on the table, and I've been trying to negotiate how am I going to go through and then knock out my Vlogmas and still maintain doing the things that I'm doing while not overwhelming. Now, granted, I have to preface it with this. I just came through the Harry the Big Dog 100 video live stream challenge. It was a personal video challenge where we had to do 100 videos in about 31 days. And, in that process, I'm saying process because my kids are still awake, we had to kind of figure things out. And not that 100 videos in essence was a hard thing to do. What was difficult was doing the 100 videos and really committing to making sure that they were good quality videos, that they actually addressed a need and added value to the marketplace. That was my personal challenge to myself, was to add value to the marketplace in doing these videos. And so when this Vlogmas challenge came up, I had to first I was thinking like, am I gonna do this again? I was supposed to do another video challenge in November. I was gonna dive into it with a friend of mine, and then November came and November came. It just kind of jumped in there, and then we had these projects that we started working on, and we've got this comedy show that I am promoting. This is one of Harry the Big Dog's projects, And it is a benefit for the veterans because, every year, uh, around September is when the suicide rate starts to really creep up. And I just heard a statistic that the suicide rate has it's exploded by about 35%, which is kind of crazy because it was already any suicide is too many as far as I'm concerned. But when it comes to the men and women who are fighting to secure the safety of our country, I've got a special place in my heart. My grandfather, he was a veteran, and I've got veterans in my family. I've got a lot of veterans who are friends. And so just understanding the sacrifices that they make and have made for our safety, it is one of those things that anything that I can do that is going to be in support of veterans, I want to do it. So when Harry started talking to us about doing this comedy show, and it is the Veterans Laughs Matter comedy show, we got to talking about like how could this benefit the veterans, and we really needed to understand what was going to be necessary in order to kind of keep us going, because after doing 100 videos, we were kind of spent. Well, fast forward, it's coming up on the 19th, and let me pop on into the live stream group so I can make sure that I can see any comments that are popping through, because I don't think that the comments are going to show up inside of the restream. I'm on restream right now, so I'm going to pop on in here, and I'm going to finish up. I was in Messenger messaging one of my friends reached out to me, and so I was responding to him. And then I just had some music going in the background as I'm sitting here working, just kind of getting myself ready for an interview that I'm doing tomorrow morning for my Mastering Your Media series. And so I'll be interviewing Dr. Stacy NC Grant. She is the founder of Faithpreneur Weekend and the whole Faithpreneur movement. Absolutely love her. She's a great friend of mine and my sister. Her whole family absolutely love all of them. So I'm getting my head together for that, kind of not necessarily getting my game plan together, but sometimes I've got so much stuff that rushes through my brain that I've got to decompress and just relax. And sometimes I got to get myself to a certain point to where my brain just kind of gets to that tipping point, and then I just let everything go. And so I'm at that point right now. This has been kind of a rough set of weeks. Although I've been steadily getting things knocked out, it still has its moments where it's like, wow, okay, this is a lot of stuff going on here. Let me say goodnight to my friend real quick. Good night, bro. And so anyway, so I've been loving what I've been seeing in this community. Let me see if, okay, here we go. I do see that the video has been shared. Let me open this up and then let me mute it. Voila. Okay. All right. So let me see if there's any comments going here. So I'm running two different. Okay, here we go. Yeah. All right. So I'm running two different windows here just to make sure that I can see what's going on. Yeah. So anyway, me too. Yeah. So I've been just kind of contemplating, okay, just showing up. And I'm going to tell you, whether you are a newbie at this or you're an old head like me, with live streaming and all that, it still poses its challenge because and this is for me at least, I'm always looking at okay, how can I put my best foot forward and do the things that I want to do, whether it come to live streaming or cooking or interviewing, whatever that is, and really get out of my own way and focus in on what is going to bring the best value. And that can be kind of tricky because, you know, it's a good way of saying this. Because I know for me, I'm constantly looking at the last things I did and then asking myself, could I have done that better? And the answer is always yes. And then the next question is, okay, what's it going to take for me to do that better? Do I have the bandwidth to do all the things that I know to do while I'm getting other things done? So this is why I like to surround myself with people who are doing a bunch of other things too, and just watching their example, because that helps inspire me to do more things and to get out there more. Right now, let me see. Got about 5 projects that I'm working on. And, you know, it gets taxing when I reach that tipping point, and then I just have to kind of crash out. And for those who don't know, I'm dealing with a traumatic brain injury. And so that's always interesting, the dynamic and kind of navigating through that whole thing. And so sometimes I get really, really tired midday. Sometimes it's just like, come on, me. And I'm like, okay, I gotta lay down. And then there's that part of me that will just want to push through. Usually I do push through, and I don't know that that's necessarily the best idea. And so I'm working on developing a whole new set of habits so that I can structure things in a way where I can knock things out in increments so that when I look over the day after I get to the end of the day, I can see that things were knocked out to my satisfaction. I also have to learn not to put too many things on my plate. So just sitting and listening to the videos that have been going out, Doc, Diana, Brant, I'm really loving the videos and all of the different types of videos, the lemon drops, loving those, Alicio. I mean, everybody has their unique take and flavor. Chris, I'm loving your videos, bro. And that helps more than I think you realize. Just by everybody showing up and doing their thing, for me, it helps me to just kind of stay in my lane and in my zone. I realize I approach video the way I approach it. I absolutely love what Diana said the other day when she was like, yeah, I'm not going to do like, who is it? Uh, Not remembering the guy's name. I know his name. I even subscribe to his videos. Nice Stack. I think I said his name right. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Get on the skateboard, do all the stuff that I don't do. And I'm like, that's true. I think sometimes we get caught up in everybody else's, or we can easily get caught up in everybody else's fanfare and all that and their natural bents. And if we're not careful, we start adding things. We can easily start adding things to our mix that just don't belong in our mix. Me, I get on and I do long, drawn out live streams. That's just what I do. I sit and I will talk and kind of flesh out an idea. And I structure my clients. I'll tell them, okay, you got to get in and get out in this certain amount of time. Here's your template. Let's come in, hit the intro, pop to the opening sequence, and then get back into it and move through your production and then your call to action at the end. So I know the format, and I format my clients like that. I don't have the same amount of leeway that I give myself. And I think that it is because I'm still looking at what it is, like how it is that I want to approach this new season of my life. When I got into my car accident, I had to come to terms with quite a few things. And one was the content that I put out there. You know, when all is said and done, like if that was the last piece of content that I put out there, what would I want it to say and how would I want it to impact my world? Would it be content that I put out there just to say that I put the content out there? Or is it content that, you know, when I look back, I could say, you know what? I know that edified or that built somebody in some way, that gave them some information that they didn't have and allowed them to grow, to step on it as a foundation and the springboard, you know, into their stratosphere. And, I started deconstructing, and not that I was out there putting a bunch of garbage out there in the first place. That wasn't what I was doing. But what happened for me in the accident, and when I talked to the attorney and the doctors and all of that, and they explained just how blessed I was. And I already knew I was blessed. I knew God's hand was on me to keep me from dying in that accident. But when I met with my attorney, he told me how folks usually end up in accidents like the one that I was in. He says usually they either hit the back seat so hard that it breaks their neck and they're a vegetable, quadriplegic, or what have you, or they're ejected out of the back window of their vehicle and end up on the pavement, and dying that way. What I ended up with, I did hit the back seat, and I I had a lot of damage, but the blessing of it was I didn't really feel the damage, not right off the bat. I just felt numb for months, and I had this like buzz that was going through my body like 24/7. I just felt like I was, plugged into an outlet and just had this hum all over my body. And so it was quite a few months before I started feeling real pain again. And when I did start feeling pain, I was actually grateful for that too, because I knew that meant that my body was healing because I could start feeling certain things again. And so, it caused me to look into a mirror and say, what is it that I want? When I do posts online, when I do videos online, when I cook a meal, when I engage with folks, have conversations, message folks, or get on the phone with them, what do I want that to be about? Do I want it to be fluffy and superficial, or do I want it to leave some kind of impact, or do I want to receive some kind of impact from it? And I said, you know what? I want to live a life that is so authentic. And then that meant that I had to learn what that looked like, you know. And that was not an easy lesson. I had a set of lessons. I went through some pretty amazing things over this past year. And I say amazing now because I see God's hand in it. It was very stressful for me, very challenging, actually quite terrifying. And this isn't the accident thing. This was just life stuff, family stuff. And over that time, I saw God's hand move in my life. I saw how He used different tragedies in my life to strengthen me and bring me to a different place in Him and a different place with the people around me. It allowed me to show up more authentically. And so, um, when I was looking at the videos here in the Vlogmas challenge in uh, the live stream community, I think what impressed me most was seeing other people just talk about themselves and their stuff, showing up real and giving such valuable tips and structuring content in a way where folks can consume it, and folks who had never picked up a camera before or didn't really know how to use their phone or use it very sporadically, very sparingly, seeing them start to put together their content in a way that made me lean in and say, wow, that's really, really good stuff. Carmen, if you're watching this, sis, absolutely loved your video. I mean, the way that you started it out, the effects that you put with it, I thought that it was such a great way to highlight what you do as an environmental concierge. Hello. And just seeing everybody. A matter of fact, I had to invite clients and students and mentees, friends to this community because I saw the great value that this community is bringing to their lives. And I have heard back from those that I've invited, not all of them. Some of them still don't even know why I invited them in here. And I think that once they start watching the videos, they'll say, oh, this is really good. I have seen some interacting and engaging, so I know that it is beneficial to them. But yeah, so just watching the transformation that's taking place in the members in this community, it's always gratifying. So all of that to say that, being around people who take life authentically and just no holds barred, they just put it out there. I appreciate that. That helps me and encourages me to continue to do the same. You know, I'm loving also what comes with that. I was talking to my sons the other day. It was the other evening. We were up late, all of us. They're night owls like I am. I kind of think that they just like to get away with staying up real late when I'm up late. But we got to talking about standing in courage and allowing God to lead our lives. And I was talking to my oldest at one point, and I said, sometimes we kind of mince words. We beat around the bush on things because we've got a fear. And that fear, of course, is of rejection. We don't want to get rejected. We don't want to get shut down. So we will buffer what we say, how we say it, when we say it, instead of just being very honest and transparent about it and letting the chips fall where they may. And I'm not saying being insensitive. I'm just saying that, when you have something to say, being courageous enough to say it. And that courage comes from having thought through, well, if rejection is what I'm afraid of, what does that look like? What does it look like if I get rejected? Is it the end of the world? For some, it is. Some can't handle that literally. But for others, when you think it all the way through, you realize that you can't ever get rejected from those who accepted you and love you and want your best interest. The ones that you can get rejected from are more than likely those who God doesn't want in your life in the first place. So he will allow them to opt out. He may even prompt them to opt out. And we've got to be okay with that. So in that conversation that we had, we ended up talking and talking, and then it turned into a conversation about King Hezekiah. And the beauty of Hezekiah was that he did what was right in God's eyes. And the other kingdoms around him, they surrendered to the Assyrians. The Assyrians, they, no, you need to put that down, son. The Assyrians, they, little parenting, the Assyrians, they terrorized the kingdoms around them. And they, I learned a little something about the Assyrians when I was at shul a while ago. This is probably a year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I had no idea that, when the Bible talks about Jonah and God sending him to Nineveh, that Nineveh was where the Assyrians were, and the Assyrians that they used to engage in psychological warfare. Talk about a propaganda machine. Look, when the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, it is not playing. It's no joke. So here it is. They had this propaganda machine, much like how we have it in media today. And they would do these atrocious things when they would go in to overtake a kingdom. They would like utterly destroy it. And I mean, do some heinous things to where it would strike such fear and terror in the surrounding kingdoms that when they heard that the Assyrians were coming to town, they would abandon their stuff. They would try to get away from them because they did not want what took place to the other kingdoms to happen to them. So when Jonah was sent to give the message to the Ninevites, he didn't want to go because he actually wanted God to destroy them. And God is like, yeah, go. And he's like, yeah, I'm not. So then he took off the other way, jumped on a boat to sail off to Tarshish, and then a storm came for him. And, in life, we kind of do that Jonah thing every now and then. We will run from the very thing that we're supposed to be running towards because we're afraid. Sometimes we're afraid of the outcome. Sometimes we don't want the outcome because we know what will happen and it's not our will, it's God's will, right? So we run the other way. And then things start happening in our lives. The storms come, be it proverbial or literal. And then we have to get to that point where we recognize, okay, that wind, that tornado, that storm, that earthquake is for me. I got to go back the other way and handle what God gave me to handle. So I see this Blogmas thing as a catalyst to stuff like that, you know, helping us to get things done and to turn from running from our lives and then allow us to run towards our lives. Now, there's a few things that happen inside of that book. First thing is that the folks that were on the ship with Jonah, I know I bounced all around, went to Nineveh, Assyria, Jonah, Hezekiah. The folks that were on the ship with Jonah, they started emptying the ship of all the excess weight. They start dumping stuff all over. So they had to get light. Well, that gave me this concept. In life, the storms come, and we could either A, try to hold on to things that aren't bolted down, aren't anchored down, the things that are movable. We could try to hold on to them and let the ship go down. Or we can start the process of getting light, get rid of all the excess stuff. Hey, we don't need that. That doesn't matter. This is weighing me down. And then at a certain point, we've got to be willing to get thrown over the ship for the big fish to grab us and take us to our destination. Jonah had to do that. And back to Hezekiah. Hezekiah had to do that, but he wasn't running the opposite direction. He was actually running and walking with God. He was doing things right. And the kingdoms that surrounded him, they were ready to fold because they were terrorized. And well, actually, the kingdoms around him did fold. And he was like the last one standing. And he had to depend on God's promise. God's promise was, if you do right by me, you do what I tell you to do, I got you covered. No weapon formed against you will prosper. The enemy may come towards you one way, but he'll flee seven ways. And Hezekiah had to trust God, even when the messengers from Assyria came and told him, hey, look, all you have to do is surrender to us, and we will give you all the stuff that you need. You'll have your own vineyards and cattle and food and clothing. I mean, like, you'll be taken care of. You just have to, pay your homage to our kingdom, to our gods. You have to, kind of fall in line with what we do. And Hezekiah was like, no, we can't do that. We serve the one true and living God. So We've got to stay the course here and trust him. And you won't come in this city. You won't defeat us. And they were like, well, yeah, but the other kingdoms said the same thing, and we destroyed them, just like we're going to destroy you. They had their gods, and none of their gods saved them. So your best bet is to surrender to us so we don't do to you what we do to kingdoms that don't surrender to us. We'll fold you. And Hezekiah had to say, nope, we're staying the course. Now, he didn't say anything to them. He was like God. He talked to God, and God was like, look, I already told you, I got you covered. So we have to be that steadfast, and we have to be able to trust God. Like when God says something and when we're following what he said to do, we got to be able to trust him that he's going to bring it forth. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that God said, yeah, not only are they not going to come in here into the city, but they're going to go back where they came from. And then the king is he's going to be taken by the sword. So they're not even going to die like, he's not even going to kill the king in your town. I'm going to take him back to his town and get rid of him, which is exactly what happened. One morning or one evening, when the Assyrian army was going to come against him, that evening, the angel of God went out, and 185,000 of their army, of their military, was killed, was destroyed. So they woke up, the others, when they saw them, they just saw these dead bodies all over the place. It's like, how did this kingdom do this? Well, they had God on their side. So they may have had the numbers, but they didn't have the number. So they ended up leaving, going back to Assyria. I think they went back to Nineveh actually at that point. But anyway, and then the king, I think it was his two sons, uh, overtook him, killed him. So he died by the sword, back where God said he was going to die by the sword. If Hezekiah didn't trust God, he would have bowed to the Assyrians, bowed to their gods, taken on their customs, and then would have had to deal with the cursings that came with that. When you unplug from life and you plug into death, then that's what ends up pumping through your veins. That's what goes through your circuitry. It's death. Hezekiah stayed plugged into life, and he trusted God. He trusted life. So uh, that was an encouraging conversation that I had between me and my boys. And, kind of bringing it full circle, on just starting and opening your wings back up. Okay. Now, notice I said back up. Sometimes we have spread our wings and then we kind of draw them back in. We hibernate a little. And sometimes we need things to draw us back out in order to do what it is that we came to do. So I just want to again say kudos to everybody in here who's doing their Vlogmas. I'm glad to be doing my first one, even though it's Vlogmas number 9. But I really appreciate what's going on here in the community. By the way, if you are wanting to know how to stay connected with me, if you like this kind of content, albeit long, then you can pop on over to TJH Media Ltd right here on Facebook. Again, that's TJH Media Ltd. You could go fb.com/TJH Media Ltd. Got a project going on right now. Shauna Vincent, Chef Shauna, Chef Regina of Regina's Baking Academy, Chef Shauna of Shauna's Sweet Spot. We've got a new product that we're going to be launching. So we are going into production tomorrow. We had our pre-production meeting today, and it is going to be about food and life and fun. And we're going to have a real good time with it. Every time we get together on this, we crack up because we're all chefs and we come from different perspectives, but we respect each other's game and each other's insight. So we're going to have some fun with it and sprinkle in some knowledge, hopefully, that if you ever wanted to feel comfortable and confident in the kitchen, then this is the broadcast that you do want to connect with. And you can connect with us on our different channels, different pages. Chef Shauna is Shauna's Sweet Spot. Chef Regina is Regina's Baking Academy. I am Get in My Kitchen TV. All right. So on that note, I'm going to jump off. I don't see any comments going on. So I take it that all is well and there is nobody who needs to comment. Okay, so I'm going to now bring this to a close and I will catch you all on the flip side. You have a great one.